Hey, and welcome to Mighty Fine Shindig, a Firefly podcast. From Common Room Radio, I'm Liz Stevens.
I'm Sarah Kate Pizant.
And I'm Vinton Bain. And what do y'all order a dead guy for?
You do a really good Jane, especially since you're wearing your Jane hat right
Yeah.
now.
Wearing the Jane hat.
I had to.
Thank
Perfect
you,
occasion.
Amanda.
Yes, thank you so much.
Have you taken a picture and put it up on Twitter yet?
When I first got it.
Okay, good.
I should
Yeah.
do another one today, though.
Excellent.
We should.
Yeah.
And I've got my Jane hat over here. Do you have your
I
Jane
left
hat?
mine in my office.
Oh, that's
She
too
did
bad. We
mention
get
it
all
as
three.
we were in the car, though. She thought about it.
I did. I
at
remember
the wrong
at the very
time.
last moment. Yeah. So this week, we're covering the 12th episode of Firefly, The Message. This is a dang good episode.
It's really
Yeah.
lovely.
Yes.
I enjoy it so much. It's one that stuck out in my memory anyway, but I had a feeling for some reason going into it that it was going to have some problems or to sit strangely in the canon, but I didn't think it did at all. It was really
no, I think
gorgeous.
it's really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Tim Minear directing and also writing along with Joss Whedon.
Which is nice to see those two writing again.
Yeah.
Yes, once again, everybody seems on point this week, which
Yeah,
is great.
thank
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I really like Zoe and Wash this week.
Yes.
Yep. This was actually, even though it's not the last episode for the show, it was the last thing filmed for the show.
Yes.
And so this is all
That's
their final
right.
things.
That's
And
right.
there's some things in that I'll bring up toward the end, but yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And some of those little fact bits I even know and remember because it was the last one they filmed.
Yeah.
so I
which is
think they
hard.
really had their place in this episode more than the others because they filmed everything else up to this point.
Yeah.
That's
So they
true.
knew
yeah.
more about all the
Oh.
characters and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
It's
good
a
point.
heartbreaking episode whenever you know that that is the case. And especially with, I mean, I'm sure that you were going to bring this up, but like at the end when we've got that music swelling
Yes.
over that last scene. So we'll talk about that when we get there.
We
see
will.
if we can handle
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
we'll see. I actually cried a little bit in this episode.
I
Yep,
did
me
too.
too. Me
Really?
too.
Excellent. Good.
Wow, see, I'm not a crier, but
No.
that's some moving stuff.
It
you
is.
know?
Really,
It
really is.
So this episode was nominated for a 2004 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form.
Nice.
Oh.
You know, some almost awards.
Excellent. Hey, it's an honor just to be nominated,
It
you
is.
know?
Right?
It
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
Time for some thrilling heroics.
So we open up on this wild-looking space station where it looks like they took every LCD neon billboard and just smushed them together
Yep.
into a giant Tinker Toy space station thing.
Yeah, they actually took this footage from the film Demolition Man.
Oh, way!
And
Wow.
they
They
added
just
in a
lifted
couple of
it
other
right
things.
up?
Yeah, they added like a ship and some lasers and some things to it. But yeah, it's just a scene from there, I guess.
Oh, that's
I need to go back
amazing.
and check Demolition Man to see where it shows up in there. I'm assuming it's really quick there too, because they didn't expect you to know this.
Right. Oh, man, that's really funny.
This is so fun because it has almost that like Victorian steampunk vibe going
Yeah.
on. I really enjoyed that because that's something that speaks to me too that I always like.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun.
It really was. I really like that whenever we are coming in and we hear that carnival barker
Yeah.
claiming that aliens exist and just looking around. I love the costuming, the prop work
Yes.
throughout this entire scene.
Absolutely.
It's so good. Everybody, I mean, like, it's just, we're getting all of these meshes of various cultures.
Right.
And we, you know, at this point are very familiar with all of this. This is, you know, we see this kind of scene, we see these kind of costumes and everything that's happening here. And we just think, okay, yes, this is the world. This is what we have built and put together. And it's just, it's familiar now at
Yeah.
this point, which is crazy because it is a hot mess in there. There's all kinds of stuff happening in this place.
Yes.
So we go into our bustling space station here, and of course, there's the Carnival Barker saying that he has a sideshow exhibit that's supposed to prove alien life. And we cut to Simon and Kaylee inside the exhibit, and Simon announces that it's only an upside-down mutated cow fetus.
These two are so adorable
They
in the
are.
opening of this sequence. They are so cute. And I love that Simon looks like every guy I went to high school with. He's got like the kind of baggy jeans. He's got the
Yep.
slicked, the gelled hair. He's got that sweater that looks like the boy band sweater from all the music videos. I love it. Something is very endearing about the whole thing to me.
And Kaylee's got on that adorable little flowery dress, which just looks so
Yeah,
great. Her
the little
hair looks
macrame
awesome.
in
It's
the
like
front.
straightened. Like
Yes.
Anara clearly did her hair today
Aw,
before
that's
they went
right.
onto the space station.
And just the way they start flirting with each other, and he's like, I
Yeah.
spent money on this, and Kaylee finds the bright side, and he loves that about her.
Which is so
And
great. I
she's
love
like, we
that
got
he
this room
points
for another
that.
few minutes,
Yeah.
just to ourselves. Say more nice things about me.
Tell me more good stuff about me.
Yes.
I have been there. I have done that frequently. And then Simon. Every other girl I know is either married, professional, or closely related to me. You're literally the only girl in the world. Here's the thing.
If you ever want to cosplay Simon, there's simple instructions. Open mouth, insert foot.
There you go. Man, he was so adorable. And then he just crashed and burned.
And he was like,
and
I
there was
get
no,
what he was saying.
Yeah, but you know how like sometimes as you're talking, you get the moment of realization of, wait, I'm being a dumb, and that look comes over your face? That never happened. He just kept plowing right on.
He was like, wait, I was wrong to say that?
Well, and I mean, Kaylee's obviously very pretty. He's obviously super into Kaylee. And of course, he's not very good at talking to girls.
Turns out.
Yep, I can relate a little bit. I feel like I, in my younger days, had a lot of moments where I was just really nervous, and I thought I was saying the right thing, and then it was like, oh no, what did I just do?
There's no taking it back. It's out there.
Yep.
And it wasn't just girls, I just had no confidence.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no.
You should be confident. You're amazing.
Definitely. Yes.
So Kaylee gets very upset.
Kaylee is so strong. She's so quick to call out when someone is being a jerk or they're being rude.
Yeah.
And even though she knows that he didn't intend harm, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Knowing that the intention of harm wasn't there does not make the action okay. If she feels the harm, she should express it, and she does. And that is beautiful. Gosh, it's so strong. I love it about her.
I like that she says, well, I'm glad I rated higher than dead Bessie here. And
right?
And then she says in Chinese, why don't you tell the cow about its beautiful eyes?
Oh my goodness.
That's brilliant. I like it.
She gets so fiery.
Yeah.
Like, just, it's...
But she's not being harmful either. Like, she's not trying to hurt him. She's just pointing out that you messed up here. You're going to have to fix it. This did not work properly and go as you wanted it to.
And she storms out. And that's when Zoe and Wash enter. And Wash has this perfect Joss Whedon line. Oh my God, he's grotesque. Oh, and there's something in the jar.
It is classic Whedon. It's so great.
Good. Zoe goes over, throws her arm around Simon's shoulders. And that's whenever he says, this might come as a surprise, but I'm not really good at talking to girls.
Why? Is there someone you are good talking to?
Which is perfect line, and I love it from Zoe too. Oh, it's
and I love that Wash is in the background and it's like, do not fear me. Ours is a peaceful race and we must live in harmony. And he said in the commentary that he was wanting to do the spot can there, but he was like, legal reasons, we can't do that.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, don't cross the streams.
So then we cut to Inara and Mal discussing how nobody will purchase the Lassiter.
Yep.
And again, with the Inara costumes.
She's
so great.
Cannot look away. It's so good.
Yeah.
The necklace is gorgeous. That necklace would be great with my Inara dress. Just saying.
And I like the real quick moment of a small child trying to pickpocket Mal. And he picks him up by his collar, turns him around, gets the money back, and lets him back on his way.
Yep, perfect. So good.
Inara talking about how she knows people who could afford this or whatever, and Mal telling her just because you were in on this other job doesn't mean that you're a crook. I don't want to put your career on the line. And Inara responds, the career that you abhor and look down on. Fair point, Inara. Really fair point.
I really like this interaction between them. It's the first one of their interactions in a while that I've liked. And
Well,
then
they're not
he says,
just being dumb at each other.
No.
Right?
Well, and he says, I just don't want you in the way of trouble. Take it as you like. Which I think we're starting to see the softening of Mal towards Inara, which is good. I didn't like their interaction last week. I know we talked about. So this was lovely to see. He did seem to be respecting her, caring for her, and wanting to protect her and her business and her well-being, and all of that was good. Yes, I liked that very much.
Yeah, Jewel State was saying in the commentary that this episode was originally planned to be the episode where Simon and her would connect more and become somewhat of a couple, or at least show that they were both interested, and they come to that connection finally. And so I wonder if they were also putting those seeds in for Inara and Mal to be in the later episode, but because they were getting canceled and they found out, they were like, well, I guess we'll cancel that idea too.
Oh, it's
No.
so sad.
My heart.
Indeed.
Also, Mal doesn't know what the Mona Lisa is.
Yep.
yeah,
I
doesn't
can-
surprise me.
Yeah, I can let it go because they've got like a whole huge galaxy of planets with all
That's
kinds
true.
of art
Plus,
now.
every time old Earth is brought up, it seems like only the really educated people know anything
It's
about
true.
Yes.
it. So-
That's absolutely
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really a jibe for Simon to be
Yeah.
able to understand. Simon would absolutely know.
Yep.
There you
what the
go.
Mona
In
Lisa
fact, there
is.
was a point when they were, this is further on, when they're kind of flashing back to that battle scene, where I swear that Malcolm said something about Keats. And I was like, nope, he must have said something different because there's no way that he knows about Keats.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nope, it was something else. After that, I turned on the captions. So the world may never know.
So Mal and Anar reach a post office where Mal starts signing for some packages. Book, Jane, and River approach. River holding this gigantic white globe of food, saying, "My food is problematic."
James, the girl's a damn genius. Can't even eat an ice planet. So it's some kind of ice cream treat, right?
Yeah.
Like a
Something.
popsicle or something.
I think Joel State said that they were called snow globes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they were just big sugary balls. Supposedly.
Excellent. Those sound amazing.
Yep, that's a gigantic ball of sugar.
I love it. That's exactly what I want my snacks to be.
I like that Jane had a job. He was out buying ammo, and he tries to shortchange Mal at first, but Mal's
Right.
like not having it.
Why on earth?
And he acts like he didn't know. He's like, oh yeah.
Well, it's right after he said, I got a discount for being so aggressive or whatever, or intimidating.
Yeah,
And Mal's like, excuse me, discount?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess it is. Sorry.
Here's the
I like
rest.
to imagine that happens
Had to
every
try.
single time.
Oh, yeah.
Jane
Oh,
does
yeah.
something, so it's just like now it's just a part of it. Like
Right.
Mal's not even upset. He's just like, all right, come on.
No, you
Yeah,
gave us
right.
a better
Play your
deal
part.
this time. No.
And then Kaylee joins the group, and Anara says, "So do aliens live among us?"
Yeah,
She's,
one of them's a doctor. And then it's the gif. It's the gif we always use. It's the Kaylee and Anara gif where
Yep.
Anara takes Kaylee's head and pulls it onto her shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, darling. Uh-huh.
I love here. Jane gets a package, a
Yes.
small one from his mother, and he's trying to read this letter, and it's so adorable.
It's so adorable, and it's our letter from Amanda. We have a copy of this letter.
We
right
sure
here.
do.
You know.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's
And
adorable.
he says, and we find out that he sends money back home to help his family, which is really sweet.
Which is
you learn
very
a little bit more about
sweet.
Jane
Yes.
there in that moment.
Yeah.
'Cause he's not just for himself. He's out there being a criminal to help his family.
Yeah. It's almost a character break because we haven't really seen anything like this throughout the entire series.
Yeah, but I
I don't
think
feel
it works. 'cause-
surprised by it,
Yeah,
though.
me neither. I
Yeah.
think we've all seen that there's something softer inside him that he hides. And if he is hiding that, then he would hide this from everybody.
I suppose that's
But
fair. I
also-
just wish that
But it
every
also
now
seems
and then,
like, I mean, he obviously, the crew knows at least most of them because he's probably gotten packages before. No
That's what I
one's too
was gonna
surprised
say.
by
Right,
it. So
mhm.
You
they
would think
probably
he'd
know.
hide the package in the
But
letters, too.
He just doesn't show it until he's in that
Sure,
moment, and then
yeah.
he completely breaks in that moment because
Right.
it's from his mom.
And
Yeah.
he has
It's
his
my
boyish
mom.
enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah, maybe his folks live on like a backwater planet where they don't need as much money, and so Jane's not
Oh,
having
sure,
to give
yeah.
like,
Well,
quite as much of
you
whatever
find
his
out,
pay is.
Well, and it may also be that he doesn't send it very often, you know, in
Yeah.
Jane-like fashion. He's like, oh, it's been a couple Christmases. But when he does, he gets, you know, the letter back, thanks for sending the money. So that's sure possible, too.
Yeah.
Or it
Yeah.
may be that his parents actually don't like it when he sends the money, really, you know,
'Cause
and that
they
way
know
the
that
parents
it's crime.
don't. Well, not even that, but just like, no, we've got it all taken care of. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
when it does come in, they're like, oh, well, thank you. That really did help. or
Yeah.
Well, I
whatever
do
it was.
like that. It's like that down home Western thing.
It
It's
is
like,
very.
Oh, your sister's sick. The money really helped, and like that
Right.
type of feeling. And he gets his hat. He gets the
does.
fancy
He gets his
hat.
hat.
How's it sit? Pretty cunning,
Pretty
don't
cunning.
you think?
I think it's the sweetest hat ever.
Ah, you're the sweetest, Kaylee. You're the sweetest.
She's
Man
the
walks down the
best.
street in that hat. People know he's not afraid of anything. Damn straight.
It's such a great scene.
Now Mal and Zoe got a package, and
A
it's
much bigger
quite
package,
large.
Which already pretty much looks like a giant coffin, right? I feel like there
Basically,
wasn't
yeah.
a big surprise.
I just
really.
wish
Yeah.
that it had been like Mal had said, and everybody got funny hats.
Yeah. Well, let's hope
get
we
a
get some funny
body.
hats too.
Not the same.
Yep, there's a
What'd y'all
body
order a
inside.
dead guy
What'd y'all
for?
order a dead guy for?
So good.
good.
It is. And it's delivered perfectly.
Yes.
Yep.
So then we cut to credits.
Yep,
And when we
and-
come back, we're in the middle of this huge battle sequence.
Yeah, flashback
I-
7 years earlier.
I have to say, I want this spin-off show of Mal and Zoe's War Days. 'cause
Yeah.
Oh,
this
yeah?
is just
Yes,
fun.
that
This
would
is
be
cool. Fun might be stretching it, but it's cool, and it's definitely very compelling.
Yep. And here we meet Tracy, the man in the box, and he is kind of acting like it's no big deal in the middle of wartime in this building, sitting down, opening his can of food.
Here's what I understand about war. It makes you crazy a little bit. Like
Yep, they bring that up here in a moment too.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, especially I obviously I know nothing about war. I shouldn't even say anything like that in jest. But I mean, it is interesting that Tracy just looks around and is like, "Okay, we're all gonna die." Beans, but that makes perfect sense to me. I guess.
Well,
Because
if
it's
every
like,
day you're facing the uncertainty, like he says in the message later that I went to the war assuming I was never coming back.
Yeah.
So when you're assuming every day is going to be your last, in a way, it makes all that chaos normal. Like, well, lunch break.
yeah. Well, I'm a little hungry. I don't want to die hungry.
There you go.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. And in the midst of this, there's an enemy soldier that's about to sneak up on him, but Zoe appears and slits the man's throat.
Which is just
She's just the biggest badass.
Yeah.
in the
biggest
history of
badass.
badasses.
And
Absolutely.
she's-
The best.
She scolds Tracy for his lack of stealth and for putting his weapon down to eat.
yeah.
And Tracy's just astounded at how stealthy Zoe is as she's talking about how she was going around fighting. She's like, I didn't hear you at all. And she's like, it's called stealth. You need to learn some of it.
Yeah.
And she says, first rule of battle, little one, which I love that she calls
Little
him little
one.
one.
Yeah. Yep, very
Don't ever
good.
let them know where you are. And then Mal comes running in screaming, going, I'm right here. Come on. And Zoe says, of course, there are other schools of thought.
This is a great bit. I love this bit. And it's classic Joss Whedon, too.
It really
Yes.
is. Yes.
So Mal catches him up on the events of the battle and the forces that they are now facing, and voices surprise that Tracy is still alive, saying that he wants Tracy's beans.
I wanted your beans.
Tracy tells him that the lieutenant is in shock and delusional, and we see that there's another man there.
Yeah.
It's saying we got to go get his arms. We got to go back and get him. They're like, what happened? Nothing. He's got 10 fingers, just like
Yeah.
most men.
Yep. And Mal utters this really sad, these kids.
That's what
And
he
it's-
said
it's
that I
not-
heard as
Oh,
Keats.
yeah.
Kids, these kids.
It's not like judgmental, like you might be misreading it if you didn't watch this. The way he says it is like he's so upset that there are children going to war.
Yeah.
And he's so like wishing that they wouldn't have to be there. And that only
Yeah,
the men would be
Netflix
fighting,
just
you know?
says these indistinguishable.
That's
in
what I was
brackets.
thinking. That's
and
what
I was
I
like,
thought it was Keats. So
I
I'm
thought
glad
so
that you
too.
know.
These Keats. I'm like, it's like John Keats the poet.
That's what I was
like, what are we?
thinking.
Are
I was
we,
like, is there some
just,
kind
like,
of-
See, I felt like he
melancholy
said
and
it weird.
sadness, or
Yeah, I felt like he said it weird, so I looked up the transcript and it said these kids. So I didn't
Okay.
go back. So he might
that
say it
makes
kind of weird.
way more sense. Interesting.
Zoe asks Mal what they're going to do, and Tracy says that he doesn't want to die here.
Yeah.
Mal delivers this great speech here. Everybody dies, Tracy. Someone's carrying a bullet for you right now, doesn't even know it. The trick is die of old age before it finds you.
Yeah.
I'm going to call back to that.
Zoe actually comes up with the plan for the next move, and Mal gets him to agree that the lieutenant said it, so that if the lieutenant makes it, this won't go on his record,
Right.
losing his mind in the battle like this. And Mal, I love this. Mal is looking out for people and protecting them even back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
just love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tracy says, I ain't going to rat you out, Sarge. And he says, Mal says, ain't me I'm worried about. Lieutenant ever gets his mind together, this shouldn't go on his record. Ain't his fault he couldn't take it. So I just love that moment.
Yeah. It really is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I love Malcolm Reynolds. I really do.
Yeah.
Before they can move, incoming fire collapses part of the building on Tracy. A vehicle makes its way
Well,
in.
and did you see when Mal, real quick thinking, throws that thing up in the air to get the
Yeah.
secret before it gets them?
yeah. They're like,
Yep.
oh, it's
God,
a secret, and he
he's
grabs that
just
flare,
so
like,
good.
Throws it up in the
jams
air.
the flare
Yes.
on, throws it. Yeah, it's amazing.
I would also
so quick on
follow
his feet.
Mal into battle anywhere.
I would
Yes.
follow
Zoe
Malcolm
style.
Reynolds
Yep.
to hell and
Yep.
back if we made it. Otherwise, I would just follow him into
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would trust that man with my life.
He's earned it.
So yeah, Mal shoots that up in the air, and then a vehicle makes its way in, and Mal helps the injured Tracy out of the area, who thinks he can't go on, picks him
Right.
up and carries him right out. We cut back to Mal standing over the box with Tracy in it. Zoe and Mal recognize it as Tracy,
Right.
but are very confused. And the postmaster tells them that it's been there for a week, that he doesn't know who sent it, and that transporting human bodies is highly illegal, and he could lose his job, and they need to get it out of the station right now.
Yeah.
Jane points out that it doesn't smell, which it definitely should after a week.
Yeah.
So there's a
Well
little
preserved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a little call forward to what we might find out soon.
A little foreshadowing, maybe.
Mal and Zoe pick up the box. Jane doesn't understand why, because it won't make them any money. And Book tries,
This is interesting. Jane complaining about it, obviously just not getting it there at first, at least. Because, of course, he barely even knew now that they have recognized this guy and doesn't know about their history at all.
Yeah, they haven't said anything.
Right,
So.
yeah.
Book tries to help, but Zoe says they got it.
Which is really lovely. I love that Book jumps in to help because he recognizes the situation, and of course he would. And also that it's something that Mal and Zoe feel like they need to do together, that it's essentially that they're being pallbearers at this point, and that's an honor, and it's not for everybody.
If you even look forward to what he says later in the message and that line, you get somebody to carry you, that's probably going through their heads. They remember that interaction with him, and they remember we're carrying him again.
Right.
And then Simon shows up.
Yep. And I love that River walks by him and says, "You're such a boob."
Such a boob. Simon, do we get something fun? And Kaylee just gives him the most withering of glares and then just wanders off. Here's the thing, like, Simon just got there. It's not his fault that he does not know what just happened.
That is not his fault, but he did, again, insert his foot into his mouth.
He sure did.
And then River, "You're such a boob." So perfect.
I love those sister moments. They're so fantastic. She doesn't always get them.
So now on the ship, Simon says that he could do a proper autopsy. And Kaylee's like, "Cut him up?" And Mal says, "Not just yet." And then Kaylee goes, "Robot."
It's a bad day for Simon, yeah.
It is.
Zoe finds a recording device in Tracy's hands and plays it. It's a message from Tracy to Zoe and Mal. He says that he fell into the wrong crowd, and if they're listening, he's dead and wants his body taken home. He says that they survived the war, but it's the real world that he couldn't survive. He says that the two of them carried him through the war and asks if they could carry him just a little bit further.
It's really lovely.
And he says that line, "When you can't run anymore, you crawl. And when you can't do that, well, yeah, you know the rest." Thanks, both of you.
I love that Wash immediately turns around and starts walking off, and Mal asks where he's going, and Wash says, "Well, St. Albans is only a 2 days ride if we burn hard." And then even talking to Inara when Mal's like, "Hey, we might have to, I mean, your schedule's going to be," and she's just like, "It's fine. It's okay. Everything's
They're
great."
a good crew.
Yeah,
They
I
everyone's
like
being really respectful of the situation right now, which is really
everyone
awesome.
is kind of staring on somberly when they're listening to this message.
Yeah.
And in the original shooting, we just watched a blooper where the camera originally went slowly around and just paused on everyone's face. And Nathan Fillion kept moving from person to person. So he was in almost every shot with every person.
Run around behind the cameraman to get onto the next person's other side.
And he just keeps his face all stoic, looking off into the distance while everyone else is breaking and laughing. And there's a moment where Book almost keeps his face until...
just a little twitch.
Until Inara collapses on his shoulder laughing. And then it ends with Mal in the box with Tracy, and they're
Tracy's
holding
like,
each other.
So adorable.
It's so great. That's on YouTube. Look it up. It's so funny.
I really like this message in the recording. It's interesting because when we listened to, or rather when we watched that blooper reel, the recording was quite different. It was before that they had changed the script. I liked that one a lot too.
I didn't mind the script. It was mostly the reading of it. It sounded rushed because I think it was just for them to play off of while they were acting. It wasn't a professional official recording of it. But yeah, I liked it there too, for sure. Because he even said, I liked his line in there where he says, "If you're listening to this, I might be dead." Well, I hope I'm not. I hope I'm telling you this in person, actually.
Right.
We're all laughing about it,
Yeah, and about how stupid I am, which is, that comes up later too, which I like. So I hated to lose that part in particular. But I was thinking about the fact that this makes me like Tracy from the get-go, because when we first saw him, he was, literally laying down on the job and being very naive. But this sending Mal and Zoe this message and sending them his body is a real act of trust, I suppose, and faith in them. And so it's showing them honor, I think. And also him asking for help, asking literally to be carried just a little further, and then saying, "I understand if you can't," is, again, really lovely. It makes me like this kid. He's such a kid, but it makes me like him. It makes my heart go out to him right from the beginning.
Yep. So they close the coffin and Serenity departs. Back at the busy market, a group of intimidating men walk into the post office.
The Sentinel.
Yep. So
You know the Sentinel?
I forgot to bring up. I guess I could bring up both of our guest actors here,
Yeah, do
since
it.
we have a body and an
Sure.
actual living one at the moment.
Right.
So the Sentinel, Richard Bergy, I don't know how to pronounce his name,
Oh.
plays Lieutenant Womack here. He was in 29 episodes of Days of Our Lives. I knew him from an episode of the Seinfeld, The Hamptons. He starred as
Okay.
the main character in the show The Sentinel.
The
for
Sentinel's what I
65
remember.
episodes.
That was
Yep.
one of my first big TV crushes, I think. And my sister really liked his little partner guy with the curly hair and the blue eyes. She's always liked the curly haired guys, but I like the big bald guys are my favorites.
Yeah.
So
He was in 11 episodes of 24 and 4 episodes of Chuck, along with Adam Baldwin.
Chuck!
A little bit of a reunion
yeah.
there. He starred in Desperate Housewives and is currently starring in the new General Hospital.
There's a new General Hospital?
Yes, I don't know much
that's
about
horrifying. Well,
it. Now, Tracy is played by Jonathan Woodward, and Jonathan Woodward has appeared in 2 other Joss Whedon series, Hat Trick, as Holden in Buffy in the episode Conversations with Dead People, and as Knox in the last 2 seasons of Angel. Interestingly, all 3 characters appear friendly at the start, but eventually turn into some kind of villain who are killed on the show.
I haven't seen Buffy or Angel, so I can speak none to that. But the Sentinel, yes.
We'll
I
fix that
vaguely
eventually.
remember that episode of Buffy. So they show up in their super cool police space jet thing, and they go in and they start talking to Amnon, is the postmaster.
Amnon, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just cool name. I like that.
It is a pretty cool name, yeah. And like I totally get this though. Amnon's just doing his job. Like he didn't
Yeah.
want
Yeah,
a human body
he didn't
in his
know it was
post.
a body
It's
until they
illegal.
opened it up and was like, "Get it out. Get it out now."
Get it out of
True.
here. I can't have it here. And like I get also. I mean like those dudes were going to light him on fire.
I know,
Yes.
but when he saw Mal and he said you were an old friend, it's like a balm to my soul.
Yeah.
I just was not
I
expecting him to sell
guarantee
him
he
out
says
quite
that
so
to
quickly.
everybody who shows up.
It might be a market thing.
It might be. Could be.
The way that Womack talks to this guy is disgusting.
It is, and
way over
horrifying.
top.
Yep.
And I don't like it at all, but it's probably realistic. That's the way a crooked cop would talk to you.
Ugh,
So,
yeah.
Gross.
Yeah,
he brings up
he's not
prison
messing
in a
around.
very unfortunately worded way.
Quite.
He says that illegal transportation of human cargo is punishable by 5 to 10 years. And he says, plus, you don't know this yet, but you resisted arrest.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it's almost like that idea of like a cop smashing your headlight and going, you got a headlight out.
Yes. Ugh.
Ugh.
The postman lies and says he never saw the body, but then when
Right.
threatened a little bit more, he says, oh, there was a crate, though, big enough for one. And he hands over Mal's information and tells him about the ship, hoping just to get this guy out of there and
Right.
shoo him off so he
Exactly,
doesn't have
yeah.
to deal with it anymore. And he says, if you go now, you can catch him. And Womack says, are you telling me to leave?
He's a bad,
Yeah,
bad
he's
cop.
a
He is a
bad
bad
guy.
man,
And,
yeah.
and it's like, Amnon's like, no, I didn't. He's relaxed. You've been great. I was just bluffing about the arresting you stuff. I mean, who needs that kind of paperwork? Skunk, light him on fire. So the postman is drenched in flammable liquid, and there's a match lit. And Womack says, tell
I
anyone.
was so worried they were
Yeah,
legit
I
gonna light
thought-
this
I-
guy.
I
every
thought
time
he
I
was
watch
going to
it-
light him on
Yeah,
fire.
I couldn't remember, and I was like,
Right.
no, please.
Every
God,
time I
no.
watch it, I'm like, did they set him on fire?
Yeah.
I don't
they
remember them
burn
setting
this
him on
man
fire.
to
They're about to burn this guy. But Womack says, tell anyone we were here or warn Captain Reynolds, and you'll wish we would have burned you.
Yeah.
And we get our act to
It's a good
we
threat.
get our act cut to Act 2. So on Serenity, Kaylee re-listens to Tracy's message in a hammock in the engine room.
First of all, I love her hammock in the engine room.
Me too.
I
Although I
adore
wonder
it.
why she is re-listening to this message.
I think it really touched her. And
I think so,
So I think she's
too.
just listening to it again and she just thinks it's really sweet.
It has to be something like that, or else just the idea that I don't know. Maybe Kaylee's thinking like, here's somebody who was like just doing their best and trying to do the best they could, and ended up dead, and now
Yeah.
Cap and Zoe are having to take him back home,
Yeah.
and just like
And this is a look into Cap and Zoe.
Yeah.
And she's always interested in that. She's wanting to hear their stories.
Oh,
and this is a peek into
yeah,
their life. And
sure.
so she's interested. And I think outside of that, they're trying to narratively build in that she has a crush on this guy, even though he's dead at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
well, Kaylee
Interesting.
might have a crush on every boy.
Yes.
That's the
They
thing
do
that I was
mention-
thinking about
yeah.
too. Is
Yeah.
that
She even
yeah.
mentions in the commentary that she's a little boy crazy.
Well, and
Kaylee's
even
boy crazy.
Simon
I get it,
just
yeah.
said, well, you're literally the only girl out here that I could have a crush on, which is also true of Simon. And sure
Yes.
enough, the first time we get another cute single guy on board, Kaylee's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Hey, how's it going? Which is nothing against Kaylee. It's okay to be a
No,
little
of
boy
course.
crazy, especially when you're
I'm
out in
also
space
prone to
all
crushes.
the time.
Yeah, sure.
Now, the most important part about this scene is the foot-tall Han Solo and Carbonite figure to her left while she's laying in the hammock.
Missed it.
Yes.
What? That's fantastic. I
Which
missed
apparently
that.
was in a few other scenes, but I don't know if it ever got in the footage. But I think Alan Tudyk mentioned that it's in other scenes or
Oh,
was
that's
filmed in other
amazing.
scenes, but it may not
They
have
just
made it
like
in.
stick it in places.
And Nathan Fillion, I guess, wanted it in a lot of scenes he was in because he's a big Star Wars and Star Trek fan. But that's the one where we know for sure it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Well, I love that Simon is heading towards the engine room, presumably to apologize to Kaylee and talk to her, and then hears that she's listening to this message and realizes now is not the time to try and talk to a girl. So
Yes.
he's learning.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't necessarily think of it that way. I thought to myself that he was still feeling embarrassed and still thinking more about himself than about her. Like I would have liked for him to have said at least something nice or to check or to check on her, because then he would be thinking about Kaylee first and not about what is Kaylee thinking about me right now.
Right.
Like needing to apologize for selfish reasons or...
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I think that when you walk into an engine room and there's a girl in a hammock listening to a dead guy's ghost message, I think that you just leave her be.
Just leave her be. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
Advice from
needs,
Sarah.
She needs a moment.
That's true. I don't know what else. Bring her some tea, maybe, and then
Yeah.
just walk quietly away.
Hey, how's it going with your ghost message? I got you some oolong tea.
I brought you
It's
a
Kaylee.
protein
Just go in there,
bar.
wrap your arm around her, lay your head on her head, and just go, hey, is everything okay? It's a sweet message, huh?
You know what? You do know how to talk to girls.
Nailed it.
So we then cut to Jane lifting weights and Book standing over the coffin in the cargo bay.
I really enjoy this scene.
Yeah.
And
It's so good.
you might not have noticed that the mule is in the background, all blackened from war stores.
Oh, man, you keep noticing these excellent things. Good. I'm glad that we still have the mule, even though it's all blackened
Yep.
from war stories.
So Jane says, oh, I'm sorry, preacher, am I making too much noise? And Book says, I was just saying a few words. I don't know the boy's denomination. And Jane actually says, that's
love
good.
this.
The Lord ought to look after the dead.
The Lord ought to look after the dead.
I really do like that a lot. Yeah.
You get to see there that Jane may believe in somewhat of a higher power, or at least hopes that there's something out there when you
Sure.
die.
Yeah.
And you learn why here in a second. Because he says, when asking if Book wants to lift weights, and Book says he's not in the mood, he says, most people, it's terribly quiet about now. Me, I see a stiff, one I didn't have to kill myself. I get the urge to, do stuff. Work out, run around, maybe get some trim if there's willing woman about. All right, Jane. Not that I get flushed with corpses or anything. I ain't crazy.
All right, Jane.
And then I like that Book says, makes sense. Looking to feel alive, I would venture. And Jane, for psychology, that don't sound half dumb. My kind of life don't last long, preacher. I'm invested in making good sport of it whilst I can.
I like this. I
Yeah.
think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Definitely.
To feel more alive, especially somebody in Jane's position. Who,
Yeah.
It's true. His life is on the line all the time. And it's a good reminder that I'm still kicking.
Yeah.
And then in the background, River comes in and lays down on the coffin.
Which is a weird response
Yeah.
to death, I have to say.
You're just being
I'm
weird.
very
River.
comfortable here.
I like that Jane says, you're going to read over me when I get taken down, Shepard. And Book says, I suspect you'll be around long after we're all. But then Jane notices her and says, what the hell are you doing? and yeah, I'm very comfortable here.
I feel like this has been a really good episode for seeing some of our secondary and even tertiary relationships. Like we're seeing, like whenever Zoe was talking with Simon in the cow fetus room or whatever, and like
The
throwing
cow
her-
fetus room.
throwing her
Could that
arm
be the
around-
episode title?
Yeah, probably so. Throwing her arm around his shoulders. The secrets of the cow fetus. That's gross. I made it weird. But Zoe like throwing her arm around Simon's shoulders and seeing that rapport that they're beginning to build. And here we see, I mean, we've already a couple of times before seen Jane and Book interacting and
Sure.
just more of that going on. And it's just a great character-driven episode. Everybody does so well. It really does make up for the last couple of weeks where we were just like, we don't know who is what
Yeah.
and what is happening.
Yeah, like the plot's interesting, but all the characters got weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. Is this a different show? What?
Yeah,
I don't-
made my job hard because I'm kind of like the character person on
Right,
the
yeah.
show. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
I have no idea. I do not know. What happened?
I like that line where Book ends it and says, I guess we do all have different reactions to death. And then we get that cut
Yes.
to Mal, Zoe, and Inara at the dining table laughing, and Mal and Zoe telling stories about Tracy during the war and drinking.
Yeah.
It's another story about facial hair. The
Yep.
only stories that this crew has to share are stories about facial hair.
Absolutely.
It's a great story, though. I do like it, and I do relate to this a lot.
Yeah.
I relate a lot to the idea of wakes rather than funerals, and it's the part that I haven't had a lot of death in my family, which has been very fortunate, and I've only been to 3 funerals ever, 2 grandfathers and a neighbor, who I wasn't even close to, but I do recognize that. That the best parts for me, the most healing parts for me, have been the sharing of stories about the person and the laughter that comes with that, and the memory of of what they brought into our life. And,
Sure, yeah.
And that's what resonates most with me with grief is this scene of the 3 of them talking and laughing. And especially, I love that Inara is there, even though she didn't know him,
Yeah.
but she's invested and she's their listener. That's so important. Like,
She's doing her job right now.
She is doing her job right. Oh,
But she's not doing it.
I don't know if I like that. Go ahead.
No,
go
here's
ahead.
the thing.
Go ahead.
Like,
go ahead.
I mean, she's trained to do this sort of thing, but Zoe and Mal are her friends.
That's what I meant. Okay, so she's doing her
being
job
there-
as a friend, which I
Yes,
like.
yes.
Doing her job as a companion, don't like.
Okay. I mean, she is doing the work that a companion does, but not as a companion,
as a
their
friend. Okay.
Yeah,
which
Alan
is good.
Tudyk jokes in the commentary that a companion just always has to find a way to put herself into every social interaction, so
Yes.
she's only there because of that.
Well, no, it's so important that our stories have someone to hear them and to listen
Yeah.
because, I mean, Mal and Zoe could have sat there reminding each other of things all night long, but
Right.
it is a little bit different if
Yeah.
there's no one there to laugh because it's the first time, if there's no one there who's waiting for the punchline.
Yeah.
And I think that's really fantastic that she's being that for them. It's a real act of compassion and care and friendship.
Yeah.
And they've obviously had a few drinks, you can tell.
Yes, they have. And Inara,
Pouring
too.
great
Yes.
They tell that
amounts of
funny
that.
story about Tracy stealing his colonel's mustache in his sleep and gluing it
The
to his own
lip
face.
ferret.
Yes. Oh, and then how
Great
Mal
walrusy
wraps
lip ferret.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when Mal wraps up that story with just that, oh God, and you feel the pain in his voice for the first time,
Yeah.
and then we get that first hit
Yes.
where the ship shakes
Yep.
and the whole shack shimmies. That was inappropriate. I'm sorry.
What just happened?
B-52s, don't worry about it.
Yep.
Were you just quoting the Love Shack?
I was.
Yes. So yeah,
What were you
suddenly
doing?
the ship jars with a loud noise. Book, Zoe, and Mal head up to the control room where Wash tells them it seems to have been a warning shot.
Yeah.
And Lieutenant Womack hails them. He's the guy that threatened the postman, remember?
Right, the Sentinel.
Womack accuses the crew of Serenity of being in possession of stolen items and tells them to prepare to be boarded. Mal assumes he's talking about the Lassiter, but Womack says he's looking for a crate, and Mal tries to play coy. He says that he'll check his inventory, and as they prepare to dock, and hangs up the phone call. The video call? Some kind of call. Conference call.
FaceTime. No, wait. The space time.
I like it.
And Wash points out that police procedure sure has changed since he was little.
Uh-huh.
And Mal says he calls back, you keep him occupied. And Wash says, what do I do? Shadow puppets? And Book says, we'll take care of it. Funny thing about
Book
that
is so cool. I
is the coolest,
really
yeah.
just think Book is the coolest.
Yeah.
I like him so much.
Wash is really excited to get to use this line about shadow puppets. On the commentary for War Stories, Tudyk says that he believed that Wash served in the Unification War. According to him, Wash served as a pilot during the war, and although he did not specify which side. However, Tudyk jokes that the ship was shot down after a single flight, and he was put in a POW camp, where he spent the remainder of the war entertaining the other prisoners by doing shadow puppets.
In Kabuki Theater.
Yep.
That's amazing.
I like it very much.
So he was very excited to make that reference to the shadow
I'm
puppets
sure. Oh, that's
as
funny.
canon.
Yeah.
Of some sort. So Mal thinks that they may be after something other than Tracy in that box.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So in the cargo bay, they start going through the box. They go through the coffin. They
They go
check
through his
Tracy's pockets
and
and
Kaylee's
his
like,
boots.
that ain't right.
Yep. And Mal decides that Simon will need to do that autopsy that he mentioned.
Yep.
So in the med bay, Mal mentions that using corpses for smuggling is a time-honored, repulsive custom.
And
that
Jane
really
says,
did
maybe there's
things-
gold in there.
Oh, Jane. But things really did take a turn for the darker with that. When
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can tell that this is something that Mal's come across before. He knows that this is
Yeah.
a thing that happens and could quite well be the case here.
So when Simon goes over, he's even like, he's been open about before.
Yeah, he
The
seems
line
like-
is almost invisible.
Yeah,
but
an almost invisible scar there. I do like that line from Jane. Maybe it's gold. And Zoe says, maybe he was a friend of ours and you need to show a little respect. And then Jane says, I got respect. I'm just saying, gold.
pointing at the body.
It's adorable. Oh,
So-
Jane, I love you. Maybe I shouldn't, but I love you.
So Simon finds the invisible scar and starts to cut. Tracy wakes up screaming, and we get our act cut to Act 3.
Which is a great turn,
It's a
right?
really excellent moment.
And
yeah.
I love Jane's line too. He's awful spry for a dead fella.
Yeah.
Yep, we come back from Act 3, and that's exactly what Jane says. As he's just watching this man attack
Watching
Simon.
this naked, no longer dead corpse attack Simon, and then Mal has to go
Jane.
over and grab him,
Yeah, he
throws
pulls him down the ground.
Right.
He's cutting on me, Sarge. Yeah, I told him to.
We told him to. What for? You were dead. Huh. Right.
Yeah, I suppose it was.
Suppose it was. Hey there, Zoe.
Private.
Also, you might know this that the cut grew in size by like 4 times between those,
Oh, I
those
thought
scenes.
that was just a blood.
Because he
thought it was
like
blood.
barely cut him. If you look, no, it's like wide. It's like a lot.
Oh, is
bigger,
it wider?
a lot bigger of
Oh,
a
I thought
cut.
it was just a blood trickle. That's funny.
Well, I guess like running around will
Continuity.
rip open a cut.
Oh,
Sorry.
that made me feel it.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
And then he looks up at Mal and says, "Sarge, yeah, I think I'm naked." And there's a beat
Adorable.
there while Mal's sitting there realizing he's straddling a naked man.
Yep. Which I did notice.
Tracy gets back on the table and apologizes for attacking Simon. Simon asks about the drug that he took that made him
Yeah.
appear dead.
Simon is so smart.
He sure
He knows
is.
exactly-
Yeah.
I like this moment when he asks Jane to grab the
Can you grab
pan,
that pan,
and
please?
Tracy throws up in it, and then Simon just goes, "You can take that."
And Jane was like right on it with a great catch. And
Yeah.
because there wasn't a whole lot of, like, there wasn't that moment where
Splatter.
his face turned green and there was a, oh, wait, there was none
No,
of it.
just instant
Jane was just
barf.
like, got it. All right. I was pretty impressed, actually. Yeah. Quick reflexes. That's why we give him the gun, I suppose.
Yep.
So Mal asks Tracy what's going on, and Tracy says he just wanted to go home, and some people took exception to that, him leaving with their property, that is. And Mal asks what he took. Jane asks if it's gold. And Mal asks, more importantly, who'd you boost it from?
Yeah.
Simon
Yeah.
announces that it appears Tracy is going into cardiac arrest.
What? Tracy, are you having a heart attack? He doesn't look like he's having a heart
Yeah,
attack.
Tracy seems fine and says his heart is fine. He took organs.
Yeah.
Kaylee enters, and Tracy gets puppy dog eyes immediately when he sees her.
And his heart starts pounding faster,
Yep.
which you can
Uh-huh.
At the dining table, Tracy explains that he had his organs
hear.
exchanged.
Is it at the dining table? I thought that they were like in a lounge or something. It looked like a
Maybe they
different
were.
set.
I assumed it was the dining table, but I just wrote that down as soon as it was, and I probably didn't pay attention to the
Yeah,
background
I
for
don't
the
think
rest
that
of the
they're.
scene.
Yeah, I mean, it
So
doesn't.
at a table.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but except the only reason it matters is because I saw them in this area and I was like, where are they?
Okay,
It
yeah.
might be the same area where Mal was telling everybody what the situation is at the end
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Out
yeah.
of Gas,
That's
actually.
probably
That little
likely.
lounge area where they got like a coffee table and some dominoes.
That is quite likely. So elsewhere in the ship, Tracy explains that he had his organs exchanged with these ones and was being paid to transport them. He was supposed to drop them 2 weeks ago and get his back, but another buyer offered him 3 times the amount of money, enough to get his parents a better place.
So here's my question. Where are Tracy's organs now?
That's a good question.
In a cooler, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah.
Huh?
Can you keep human? I mean, okay. Here's the thing.
Who's
like, follow-
incubating his organs?
Yeah, who's incubating his organs? Because I mean, follow the logic here. with
Okay,
me.
yeah, sure, sure.
They grow these organs in a lab, but they
Right.
need to be transported inside of a human body. Tracy's in a crate for a week.
Yeah.
He's gonna get his own organs back. Do they
They can't just sit on ice for like
I don't think
a
he can sit on
week,
ice for
right?
a week unless.
Yeah, and he
In
doesn't, he
hospital
doesn't
shows,
have
there's
them.
like a quick
he
med flight.
doesn't have them. It's not like
Maybe
he's
he-
carrying around a little cooler.
The only
with
thing
him
I can
in
think
there.
is that this was a suicide mission from the start. He was going to sell them and die. And
Well-
then the money
Well,
would
he
go to his
said that they were going
parents.
to put his organs back in.
But I mean, originally they were. But then this new buyer,
this new.
that he had to
Oh,
abandon
yeah.
his organs because the original buyer probably had his organs. Or
Well, the original buyer
not
was
the
an
original
idiot
buyer, but
thinking
the
that he
original
can just
seller.
keep human organs on ice for a week. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe you can. Oh,
I don't
jeez.
know.
I think we're going to have to whistle past this
How's
one,
that
gang.
work? If they have the right technology to take organs out and put organs back in like that easily, all of them, sure, maybe they'd have something that'll keep regular human organs, just not the experimental fancy ones.
Right, that work way harder.
Because Simon
and
said that the only reason they need to be incubated is because the technology's not there.
Right.
I'm assuming he meant for the organs to not be, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe somebody else was holding his organs. Maybe it was just going to be like this big organ scheme where it's like, okay, here's organs A, now put organs B inside of me, I'll take those back, and then get organ C, but never organs prime because those are dead now. They need oxygen and blood pumping
Yep.
through them.
It's very confusing.
Maybe
actually.
they put him in like a pig carcass or something.
Sci-fi.
Don't know, can't care.
Oh no, can't care.
And it's at this moment that Kaylee starts making eyes at Tracy.
Kaylee likes him. Yeah.
Tracy says that he thinks the old buyer found out. He showed up to the deal and the new buyer was dead and men were waiting for him. He thought if he faked his death, they'd stop looking for him. The ship shakes a couple more times with warning
Whole
shots.
shack shimmies.
The whole shack shimmies.
Sorry.
So Wash and Book are on the bridge, still keeping Womack busy, and Mal and Zoe and Jane enter. Wash says that he thinks they're done being stalled.
Wash also freaks the F out whenever Tracy walks
then he
on the
notices
bridge.
Tracy and says, Mal, your dead army buddy's on the bridge. Zoe says, he ain't dead. And Wash just goes, oh.
Dead people should stay dead.
Wash says that they're about 5 minutes from Atmo from their destination. And Mal orders Kaylee to take Tracy and to strap in. Mm-hmm. Womack
Yeah, he does.
says that he's a dangerous minded. I can't even. Womack says that he's a dangerous minded man on a ship loaded with hurt. Why you got me chatting to your peons?
They're not peons.
That's
Yeah.
true. There's crew.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
He threatens Mal, saying that he stepped over a lot of bodies to get that one that he's got in his hold. And if he plays this right, his won't be among them. Tracy comes back and says, Sarge, almost as if to apologize, I assume, or something. He'd be like, I'm sorry I got you into this. I'm sorry
Yeah.
you're in this situation. And Zoe snaps. The captain ordered you to get off the bridge.
Yep.
You get him, Zoe.
Right? And he's captain now, not Sarge. I
That's
like
right.
that.
Mal tells Womack that the last shot knocked out their 4 couples, whatever those are, and they'll have to land.
That, let you hook up in space.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know what they were.
Coupling in space. You get it?
Space sci-fi. They'll have to land to let them board the ship. Womack is okay with this and signs off. They're coming in hot for a bumpy landing. We cut to Kaylee falling into Tracy, who is holding onto the ship. And they continue
I'm
to
sorry.
flirt.
Why are
falling
you
into
not
Tracy
hanging
or
on?
throwing
I
herself
think
into
maybe-
Tracy?
I think she knows
Had
how
it-
to hang on in the ship.
That's right. I think had this been somewhat
We have 5
repulsive,
minutes to Atmo. I got 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes in this room still.
We
That's
got 5
right.
minutes in this room still. Man,
Yeah.
all that girl
Kaylee
needs
needs
is
is 5 minutes. Yep.
Engines make her hot.
Oh,
There's
I'm
that.
sorry.
it's okay. We're good.
Tracy says the pilot's pretty wild. Kaylee says he can thread a needle with this bird. He's the best.
Yeah.
And Tracy asks, "Oh, are you with him?" And she says, "Oh,
hell
sweeties?
no."
We're not sweeties."
Yeah.
Like she says, sweeties. She
Sweeties,
says that
yeah,
he's
cute.
married to Zoe, and Tracy laughs at this and is like, "She got married?"
And you know, I really do like that too, seeing how different that must be to imagine Zoe as being married, because
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
What is it? Next thing you'll be telling me she laughs and jokes and
And she
has
smiles and has
Yeah.
emotions.
Yeah, yeah.
And Kaylee has that same reaction of knowing, oh, she must have been so stone cold during the war.
Right.
And Tracy says, I think the Sarge was even a little bit of afraid of her, which I like.
Yep.
And then I like that he realizes these people have lives now. They've moved on. He says,
Yeah.
people making a life for each other.
Which caught Kaylee's eye, of course. Yeah, it was a sweet thing to say. Tracy is naive, but I do think that he's a sweet boy.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah, I mean, sure.
he's just a little stupid.
yeah,
as-
just a little stupid.
Yeah, mhm.
Yep.
Womack calls back and threatens that they have 30 seconds to park this ship already.
Right.
Book notices that they are near a Fed station and their pursuers haven't made a transmission since they broke Atmo.
That's right.
Interesting.
Tracy and Kaylee flirt more. Wash hard burns through the mountains trying to lose their pursuer.
And he is losing his mind this entire
Yes,
scene,
absolutely.
which
Tons of
is
fun.
really funny. And I think that I read somewhere that after they had cut from this scene, Joss Whedon comes up to him and is like, so, like, Leaf on the Wind, like, super cool. Wash is supposed to be really, like,
The
really
calm
chill.
pilot thing?
And, yeah, I guess Alan Tudyk was just like, I thought it would be funny.
Yeah, I guess they Joss asked Tim, so the calm pilot thing, that's gone? And Tim said, yeah, that's gone. We're going for the funny.
That's what it was.
And Alan Tudyk said that he got to be a lot more himself here, comparing
Oh,
his
yeah, of
reactions to
course.
Jerry Lewis flying a ship. Even on the commentary, he starts doing the Jerry Lewis impersonation. It's really funny.
Oh, man.
What does that sound like? I need to know.
Oh, I don't know if I can. Wowza! He's in space! Find the ship!
I'm so glad I asked for that thing.
When Wash thinks that he has lost them, he then realizes that they are higher up, watching them going through the
Above
mountains.
the canyon.
He's like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Yep.
But he does manage to slip out of their sights momentarily and into a canyon cave type
Little
area.
cave. Yeah, sure.
And
Nook
comes
or
in for a
cranny.
landing, shutting down the power, trying to hide. The pursuers start doing something called mag drops,
Yeah.
trying to triangulate Serenity's position, and they realize that this is a bad thing because they know how to find the ship eventually. River is counting and tells Simon that she is counting between the lightning and the thunder to see if the storm is coming or going, which I like. It's an interesting moment that has almost no explanation.
Yeah, I like it though.
Yeah. The pursuers get closer, and Serenity is in danger of being hit or having the canyon that they're in collapse on them. Book offers that there's another way. Tracy leaves to see what is happening, comes back up to the bridge. Book says that they could call them and let these men board, and Tracy overhears this as we cut to Act 4.
So here's the thing. I realize that part of this is that we don't get Book's entire plan because Tracy gets overexcited, grabs the gun, and starts making a fuss, right? But man, Shepard sure is being wicked vague about this plan for no good reason. Like, he and Mal are, like, bowing up to each other, and Book is all like, no, we've got to get these men on board. Like, you know that's the only way. He could have just as easily have said, let's just get them on board, and we'll stop them from getting the thing so that the ship doesn't get hurt. Like, we don't need... The only reason why we have this is so that we can have Tracy freaking out, and then we see later, oh, this is what the actual plan was. It's just... I mean, I wish almost that Tracy had reacted sooner, so that this wouldn't be a thing necessarily, because it seems like I just don't understand why Book isn't expressing his plan right there. The feds can't hear them. They're not around anybody who's going to, reveal that plan. It's just an odd choice.
Yeah. It didn't bother me as much. I mean, I did recognize that he could have, even after Tracy grabs the gun, someone could have been like, we have a plan.
Yeah, we're not giving you over. Sit down, shut up.
Narrativium. There it is.
Yep.
We come back into our Act 4 as pieces of the canyon are collapsing. Mal reluctantly tells Wash to hail their pursuers. Tracy pulls a gun on Wash and the rest of the crew on the bridge, telling
No,
Wash to
thank
turn
you.
off the radio, power up and run. Yeah, he just keeps saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. Then Book says, put that thing down, boy. You have no idea. And then Tracy says, shut it, Shepard. And so Book might have been about to say something there.
Yeah.
It's true.
He says, or I swear to your God, I will shoot you dead.
Which I liked that line.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a good line.
And then he asks Sarge and Zoe, what are you doing with this Bible thumper? Which is interesting. I don't know. It makes me wonder about where Mal was religion-wise beforehand, because we thought he had the
true.
faith, but a bit of faith there with the
Yeah.
cross necklace and all, but maybe he didn't express that to his lowerlings, or I don't know.
Lowerlings. Well, and it may have been because he talked about his homilies about glory and honor.
Yep, he does
Yeah.
talk
It
about
may
that
have
later.
been that during the war he was already having some
Yeah.
misgivings. Because I mean, you see a lot in war, and that losing that Battle of Serenity was where he lost that last hanger-on of faith.
Yeah. So Mal tells Wash to go ahead and make the call and says to Tracy, you mailed your ugly business to Zoe and me, Tracy. Cash on delivery. I'll go to
Yeah.
hell before I watch you turn and buy this for the favor. Such a good cap.
He's a good captain. Yeah.
And he orders again Wash to make the call, and Tracy shoots. Turns out Zoe shot at the same time, though.
That's right.
And hit
Zoe
Tracy
just
in the
straight up
chest.
shoots him in the chest.
Wash was just
yeah.
grazed on the head. He's bleeding, but it looks like he's
Yeah,
probably going to be
just a graze.
fine.
Right. I love when Zoe steps over and she's like, Wash, and Wash is like, ow. Okay, husband's fine. I can keep doing
Yep.
the thing.
Yeah.
And Tracy says, you shot me. And Zoe says, damn right.
Yeah.
I love that moment.
Had it coming, kid.
Tracy,
He was a dumb idiot private. Like, he wasn't. This isn't
true.
Monty, right? Like,
Yeah,
this
for
isn't like War
sure.
Buddy Monty
For
or
sure.
anything. This is a dumb kid they had to take care of then,
Well,
and
even
now they're
if
having to take care of
even
now.
if it had been Monty, she would have shot
Oh,
him.
no, absolutely. She
Oh,
would have shot
sure.
Monty.
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
Because Monty
heartbeat,
wouldn't have made the same
Monty
mistake.
wouldn't have done.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Monty would have heard him out.
So Tracy backs out of the bridge to run off, sees Kaylee, and grabs her as a hostage as he leaves the
Terrible,
bridge.
terrible plan. And that Mal was not expecting when he says, Kaylee, get out of there. Yeah. Almost. And that fatherly instinct comes out too,
Yep.
where it sounds almost like he's scolding her, which, and of course, she had no way of knowing that any of this was going on.
I mean, I
but-
bet the only reason she's coming out of her room is because she just heard 2 gunshots.
Oh, of
I mean,
course,
like,
yeah.
the bridge is, like, right there.
Yeah. And Jewel State said that she kept her hands up in this scene the way she did because that railing has such hot lights on it that some parts of the railing are as hot as like an oven.
Oh no.
And so you have to be careful where you grab. And she knew if they were like going to be doing a moving scene, she could accidentally grab the rail if you put her hands down. And she didn't want to touch something too hot, so she just kept her hands up.
Oh, that's smart.
But you never recognize that it's not natural. It looks pretty natural to have her hands up like that.
So Tracy's got Kaylee, and he's like dragging her across the catwalk and saying things like, "Kaylee, I'm going to need you to fly this shuttle out of here for me. We got to go." And she's like, "I'm not going anywhere with you."
And I like how he tries to sweet talk her as he has a gun to her, saying, "You won't let them sell me off. You won't let them do that, will you, Kaylee?"
And just lying too. That they're trying to sell him, which obviously isn't what's happening.
Right.
Yes.
So then we get Mal stepping out on the catwalk,
Yeah.
confronting Tracy. Tracy whips around. He's got Kaylee in one arm and the gun points at the other. And Mal is talking to him, giving him...
As the rest of the crew is circling.
Yeah, we
And
got
Tracy
down there. We got Zoe on the other end of the catwalk. And Mal is basically giving him the truth of the matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tracy says, "Don't make me do it." And Mal says, "As far as I can see, nobody's made you do anything. You brought this on yourself. Got in over your head with those stone cold gut runners. Then you panicked, brought this whole mess down on us."
Yeah.
Is that whenever Tracy's like, "That ain't what happened"?
Yep, that ain't what happened. Yes, that's what happened. I'm starting to think that trail of bodies Womack was talking about, I'm thinking that some of the trail was left by you.
And of course, he points out that, Mal has his own trail of bodies behind him, according to his reputation, which is
And he says,
accurate.
Mal says, weren't bodies of people trying to help me out.
That is true. And that is absolutely accurate. That is right.
I love the lens flare here, too.
I love
It's so
this
good.
light halo that we have around Mal.
Yeah,
It's
there's
so
such good lens
So,
flare.
so pretty.
And the booming continues here. There's still stuff collapsing on the ship. And Tracy says that he picked Zoe and Mal because they're saps. They rep as stone cold killers, but he remembers Sarge and his stories and homilies and glories of glory and honor.
Yeah.
And
This was hard to hear.
yeah. And then Mal notices that everything gets quiet. And he says, "See that? Hear that? It means the call's already been made." And Tracy says, "Well, that means you just murdered me." And Mal says, "No, son, you murdered yourself. I just carried the bullet for a while."
And that was,
and-
gorgeous delivery by Nathan Fillion when he said you murdered yourself. And you can hear his voice cracking. He is so emotional and upset about this.
This isn't what he didn't come here looking for a fight. This isn't what Mal wanted.
Yep.
And do you think it's true that Tracy picked them because he thought that they were saps?
No, I think he's
I don't
panicking
think he was
in the
trying to
moment.
mark
Yeah,
them.
I think he's just
He's
trying,
upset
I just wanted to
and
make
he's
sure.
panicking in the moment.
He's trying to
Speaking out of his emotions.
In the middle of that conversation, Jane loudly cocks his gun. Tracy spins and Mal fires, hitting him in the chest, and says that, "No, son, you murdered yourself. Just carried the bullet for a while."
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then that look that Mal and Zoe share in that moment, it's heartbreaking.
It's really a heartbreaking end to this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Womack and the crew board the ship. Jane holds a gun on them from the catwalk. And Womack says, "Don't think I have to tell you folk the kind of trouble you're in. Wetware smuggling, wrestling, fleeing, officer of the law. I'm sure a search of this ship will come up with another few felonies." But then Book walks out and says, "You won't be searching the ship." And he says, "That so? It is. You won't be taking us in, nor the boy who's dying up there." He says, "Why is it you didn't call for backup? There's a Fed station 80 miles away. You're using the wrong jurisdiction."
Yep.
And obviously he's doing something a little bit illegal and under the table here.
Doing this as a side job
Yeah.
and trying to keep his own self out of sight of the feds.
And no one would care if they killed him right there and left him. They
Yep.
would never have any law to worry about if they did so. And Womack realizes that's true. Realizes that the boy's been shot, the organs are damaged, and says damaged goods anyways.
Spits on the floor
Yep.
just because he's a bastard. And
Although
then-
I have to say, this felt a little bit rushed and quick to me and just a little bit cheap. I wish that we had a little bit more of a climax with him.
Yeah.
So just
mean-
a
Well,
little.
and there are B plot, right? Like our big climax was just the fight
which
with
was
Tracy
beautiful.
on the catwalk.
I know it's a small nitpicky thing.
The only, I think, if
just
it
felt
wasn't
easy.
for Tracy having been shot a couple of times and clearly like bleeding out and
Right.
dying, then I would think this guy's going to put up a huge fight. But having
Right.
seen that, it's not just like a.
Well, and
"Oh,
Tracy
we
even
can't do this,"
hollers
but
at him,
yeah.
"Hey, Womack, I think I broke your junk."
Yeah.
While he's like clearly
So
bleeding
he knows
to death.
that he,
That is
like,
true.
even
That
if he
is
gets
true.
Tracy at this point, there's nothing to help him out there. No money to be made.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why didn't we take Tracy to the med bay?
You know what? We've seen a lot in war, and we must know that even with superhuman hearts, there's no way Doc could fix this because the story
'Cause
said
he got-
so.
Well, there's
Yeah.
also not
'Cause
much
script
time
says
in
so.
between here. I don't
Not
think
much
that
time.
there, even though there are cuts, I think it's like pretty spot on.
Pretty
Like,
immediately
he tells
after.
them the shots have ended, they're already landed.
Yeah.
And Womack comes up, like, I think pretty soon after that shot. And so
Sure,
they're still up on
sure.
the catwalk. They haven't had a chance to move. And then, of course, the next scene where
Okay,
he dies
you know
is
what? That
pretty
makes
quick
sense.
after
And
that,
then I
too.
guess where he got shot, probably his lung is punctured, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they've got the stuff on board to be able to deal
It's
with
true.
that.
This is
and then he got
this is
shot
huge
either in the
surgery.
gut
This
or
is
in the-
major surgery.
Yeah. He is dying in the most painful way.
But we do get this lovely. The hat makes you look like an idiot.
That
Womack
hat
pretty
insults
great.
Jane's hat as he's leaving.
Yeah.
Clearly has no fashion sense. He's wearing a jacket he ripped off from the Matrix.
Tracy says that was a good plan and that
Yeah.
he could never get his life working right after the war. He apologizes to Kaylee. And
Which
then
I
asks-
loved. That
Oh
was
my gosh.
very
he
sincere.
does such a good job.
Yep.
This actor is
Yeah.
Because
so
he knows
good.
he's just a dumb kid. And he made
Right, when he
been
says
making
you weren't
mistakes.
that far off about me being stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never
And-
could get my life together. It was
And
heartbreaking.
Kaylee clearly doesn't hold anything against him. She
No,
just like
full forgiveness,
just
which was such a
looks
gift.
Down. It's so
Yeah.
this entire thing it's hard to watch. This is when I started crying, of course.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And he asks if Zoe and Mal are still willing to take his body home.
And of course they are. And
Yep,
they
and-
tell him and reassure him at his death, even though he did just put them in a
Yes.
world of trouble.
Yeah.
He would not have done the same for them, and they know it.
Yeah.
And here we
But-
get the ending to that saying. Mal says, you know the old saying. And Tracy
Yeah.
says, when you can't run, you crawl. And when you can't crawl, when you can't do that, and he coughs again, and this time slowly falls into his death. And Zoe says, you find someone to carry you. And that's when I started crying.
Me too. That is a beautiful
Yeah.
sentiment, especially
really
when
is.
you're going through some stuff in your life, and that kind of vulnerability and that kind of having people in your life that you can show that kind of weakness to and ask to carry you is huge. And it speaks so much to the power of community, which of course the show talks so much about.
Yes, and found family.
And found family. And this idea that we are not equipped to handle ourselves alone, even if we
Yeah.
think that we
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah.
That's not the way of it. It's not the design of it. And it doesn't, not only does it not work that way and is not, of course, fulfilling to the self that way, but that it's mutually beneficial. Like it does something good for Mal and Zoe to get to carry this boy home that they remember from war. You know,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of symmetry to that in their own lives, and there's a certain healing that they can have from doing that they wouldn't if they had just heard one day that little Tracy, showed up dead from smuggling organs once. When this way they can fulfill a promise to him and make good on a lesson that they taught him. That's really beautiful to see.
Yeah, and we learn here, if you didn't already know it, that Serenity is not Mal and Zoe's first family. They have carried people before. Mal has been dad to others.
Yeah.
And this
Well,
was
it's
one
an
of
innate
those.
part of his character.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was one of his kids at one point that he took care of.
Yep. Boy, that's lovely.
So sad music plays.
Beautiful music.
Beautiful, sad
gorgeous
music.
strings.
As
yeah.
they deliver the body to Tracy's family, and his message that they play again over this. And the crew stands around the coffin like a funeral procession. Jane takes off his hat, and I think at that moment I
Jane-
started crying again when Jane took
looks
off
like
his hat.
he's crying.
It's really
Like,
lovely.
He looks so torn
Yeah.
up about this
Yep.
because
Very
this-
reverent.
Yeah, he doesn't have the space here in this moment to go work out or run around or do something. He's
Sure.
got to, because he's with the crew, they're taking a moment to be aware of this death.
Yeah.
Like, not just pushing this away and saying, okay, well, I now I need to feel more alive, but
Yeah.
yeah, very reverent, like just having to deal with this thing directly in front of them, and it really affects Jane, which is lovely. It's
Well,
so
especially now
wonderful
that
to
we
see
know
that.
about his own family.
Yeah.
And
Right,
that there'll be
right.
one day that they receive a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh,
probably
God,
thinking about that.
Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's Liz's turn to break us.
Sorry. Almost certainly.
So Simon and Kaylee hold hands.
After Kaylee brought the recording over to
Yep.
Tracy's parents.
Right.
The message comes to an end, and Mal looks coldly into the distance. And I weep like a baby.
And I love that it's Kaylee that reaches for Simon's hand, that offers that
Yeah.
forgiveness to him unasked.
Yeah.
Yep. The composer for this song here.
Yes.
Actually, kind of brought this up a little bit at the beginning.
Right.
Didn't write this for Tracy. As a matter of fact, he said
Yeah.
that the music was more emotional than the character of Tracy deserved.
Yeah.
But he didn't write it for him.
Right.
He wrote it as a funeral music for the show,
For the
knowing
show.
that the show had been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
They were all aware of this, and he wasn't trying to say goodbye to Tracy. He was trying to say goodbye to the show. And so it
it's-
meant a lot more to him.
Yeah, and knowing that and seeing this scene again, it is so affecting.
Yes.
This scene is unnecessarily beautiful.
Right.
For this episode,
Right.
but when
Uh-huh.
you know that
Yep.
this is a goodbye to the series as a
And
whole,
all the actors know this. So
Yes,
they're all at that
everybody
funeral
on set knows
thinking
this,
about
yeah.
the show being dead.
thinking about the show, thinking about having this funeral, this funeral for this series that they've been a part of, where
Right.
not only are their characters a part of Found Family, but these actors
But the
came together
actual
to
yeah,
become a
cast and
Found
crew.
Family.
Uh-huh.
These actors who wouldn't even go home on their breaks; they would hang out on set because they didn't want to miss something fun
Right.
or
Yeah.
miss what everyone else was doing.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily beautiful was the way that I described this scene in my notes, and it really is just like, kapow, like
yeah,
just
it's
so
gorgeous and haunting
good.
and affecting. You're right. It's lovely.
So let's geek out about this episode.
I guess so. Yeah. Let's try to find our happy.
Yeah, let's try
Okay.
to do the thing.
I love my captain.
So obviously the best scene's the last scene, so let's not pick that one.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
Yep,
it's
okay, so no one
gorgeous.
gets to pick that. What was your favorite part in this episode?
It's sad, but I'm still going to say like the actual death and the last words of Tracy and Mal and Zoe making that promise to keep carrying him.
Yeah.
It's really good.
so
yeah,
good.
it's so
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, either that or just the very beginning where we get to
Yep.
see everybody having fun.
And that's what I was
and being
thinking, too.
together.
That was
Like,
my
the
other part.
juxtaposition of those two
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, we
those are
start
my
with a
favorite.
celebration of life and we end. Oh,
Yep, those were mine too.
Womp
Like
womp.
the very beginning of it is a great juxtaposition there. You called it exactly.
Yeah.
Just the way that's both sides of these people, and you get
Yeah.
to see exactly who they are in this episode at the beginning and the end.
Oh man. Who had the best performance in this episode?
I really liked Mal in this episode.
Yeah.
Like being Captain Lee, taking charge left and right. Man, there was a lot of good ones though. We had so many small moments, like you said earlier, with
Yeah.
each character.
Yeah.
I have to say, I really like our guest star.
Yeah.
I
Tracy
really
did a
like
great
Tracy.
job.
What was his
Who-
name?
Jonathan Woodward?
I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, Jonathan Woodward really knocked it out of the park for me because, I mean, just like what you were
Absolutely.
saying earlier, Liz, like, I mean, instantaneously we like him and we feel
Yep.
for him, right?
Yep.
And then we're able to follow him along. Like, we're like, oh, like, he's got this flirting thing going on with Kaylee, and that's pretty
Right.
cool. And then he's got Kaylee and he's holding everybody else at gunpoint. And
Becomes
we're like,
an
"You
asshole,
nasty
but we-
little skeever. Like, what are you doing? And then he dies. And again, we're just like, oh, you stupid kid.
Yep. You just
You
have compassion.
dumb, stupid kid. Yeah, and he just whenever any of the times that he's like conversing and joking with everybody, I completely
Yeah.
believe it. Whenever he's on the catwalk and dying and crying,
Yeah.
begging Mal and Zoe, will you please go ahead and take me home? When he apologizes to Kaylee and his voice breaks, he just
Yes.
does such an amazing job.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's weird to me that he's only really acted for Joss Whedon in those three different
Yeah,
things.
Yeah.
he's so good. Yeah, I
Really
liked his
excellent.
performance very much.
Yeah. Well, that was the message. We have 2 episodes left, and
We do
then
one of my
we're-
favorites next week, Heart
yes,
of Gold.
Heart of Gold is so good.
Very
and
good
then
episode.
Objects in Space, and then we'll be doing the movie Serenity, an extra long episode, I imagine.
I imagine so. yeah.
So hopefully you guys joined us for the live tweet. We do that every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. You can follow along with that using the hashtag MFShindig over on Twitter. You can also follow us on Twitter at Common Room Cast. You can follow me personally at Elsa Grab the Salt.
I'm at Lizbeth Ray 555.
And I'm at Fleshy there. And you can hear more from me from the Graphomania Podcast Network at graphocast.com, graphocast.com.
You can also send us an email at podcast@commonroomradio.com. And if you like, you can head on over to iTunes, leave us a rating or a review.
That
We're
really does
also-
help people to find us.
It
Yeah,
really
so
does.
please
Yes.
do.
Yeah, please do that thing. You can share us on Twitter. You can share us on Facebook. We're on facebook.com/commonroomcast. And I think that's basically going to be it. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. I'm Sarah Kate Bazant.
And I'm Liz Stevens.
And I'm Vinton Bain. And this may come as a shock, but I'm actually not very good at talking to girls.
Is there someone you are good at talking to?